Do you take on board now that Mr. Godongwana, as I've read him through the various conversations, that he largely has seen under Director as a failure operationally?
Yeah, so I don't know why this is a difficult discussion in the country. And in fact, to me, I've begun to wonder whether whiteness plays a role here, because there's no dispute about the energy availability factor of the country in terms of, but where I think I feel people's pain who are aggrieved by the fate of Andre de Ruyter is the fact that he indeed, through his, so if we are attributing the failures from a power generation point of view, then we must also attribute the successes that we are seeing recently around stopping of contracts, major contracts. I was excited today when I heard about the extradition, the successful extradition, the court granting an extradition request to the NPA of somebody who was accused of corruption totaling about 750 something.
That's huge,
million. So there has been a critical mass of momentum building, at least in the last 6 months. Because my biggest frustration with Eskom is that, one, it was failing as far as generation. They raised concerns about criminal networks and corruption, but throughout the period, they were passive victims and were not, in fact, together with the state, by the way, were not getting to the bottom of the problem and actually make sure that national security, because I mean, this is a national security issue. You just didn't understand how it's allowed for infrastructure to be sabotaged in the manner that it has been alleged.
Mr. Godongwana, you're not going to escape this, because my sense is that
want to escape.
You are in the economic cluster of ministers, and I think the energy minister would be part of that. Do you think that Eskom perhaps would function better were it to be moved to energy, where many people argue it belongs?
Let me just say, I've not internalized that debate. Let me just say, when I was in public enterprise as deputy minister, I was jealously guarding that, and I had an argument. And that argument was, we must draw a distinction between the policy department and the operational issues. And therefore it made sense to have the operational separate from the policy. But if you look at the energy now, my argument falls flat. Because even from a policy perspective, there's a disjuncture as to who has got policy to decide on what. So there are no clear lines. And that makes it difficult for us to have a clear indication who are we going to blame for lack of new capacity.